On a quiet Sunday afternoon, 21-year-old Melisa Palacios left home to go to a friend's birthday party. She seemed happy, dressed for the occasion, and told her mom not to worry, she'd be back soon. But she never came home. Later that same day, something terrible happened in a remote wooded area, and what started as a fun outing turned into a heartbreaking mystery. In the final moments before everything went wrong, Melisa's voice was captured in an audio message, scared, begging to be left alone. Then, nothing. What really happened that day? Who was she with? And why did it end like this? Melisa Palacios was born on November 15, 1999, in the town of San Jorge, located in the department of Zacapa, Guatemala. She was the eldest of two daughters raised by 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐫𝐞𝐿, a dedicated mother who relied heavily on the support of her own mother and sister to care for the girls. Melisa and her younger sister, Daniela, were brought up in a loving environment, surrounded by the warmth and attention of their maternal family. Because of 𝐬𝐻𝐵𝐿A's demanding role as a police officer in the National Civil Police, she wasn't always able to be physically present, so the girls spent most of their time with their grandmother. Everyone who knew Melisa described her as kind-hearted, responsible, and full of dreams. Her radiant smile left a lasting impression on those around her. She had a deep love for animals and adored spending time with her pets. From a young age, she had a clear vision of her future and pursued her goals with determination. Many saw her as a visionary young woman. After finishing high school, Melisa enrolled at the University Institute to pursue a technical degree in accounting and auditing. But her true ambition was to continue studying until she earned a bachelor's degree. She dreamed of becoming independent and supporting her family financially. At the university, Melisa formed a close-knit circle of friends. They often got together not only to study, but to enjoy each other's company and make lasting memories. She could never have imagined that one of those get-togethers would lead to a heartbreaking betrayal that would change everything. On Sunday, July 4, 2021, around midday, Melisa, who was 21 at the time, left her grandmother's house to attend a birthday party hosted by her friend Maritza. Since 𝐬𝐻𝐵𝐿A was uncomfortable with her daughters taking the bus, she asked Melisa how she planned to get there. Melisa reassured her that a friend would pick her up and also bring her back home. The day appeared to go by as usual. But by around 5 p.m., 𝐬𝐻𝐵𝐿A started to grow uneasy. Her daughter hadn't returned yet. She called Melisa's phone several times, but it went straight to voicemail. Text messages sent via a messaging app also went unanswered. 𝐬𝐻𝐵𝐿A then called Maritza to check if Melisa was still at the party. What she heard made her blood run cold. Melisa had never arrived. Maritza said that one of her relatives had even offered to pick Melisa up, but she never showed up at the meeting point. Now gripped with fear, 𝐬𝐻𝐵𝐿A reported her daughter missing to the public ministry that same night. Authorities immediately activated a Guatemalan emergency system for locating missing women. Family members and friends also took to the streets, desperately searching for any sign of her. Sadly, on the morning of Monday, July 5th, officials contacted 𝐬𝐻𝐵𝐿A with devastating news. A woman's body matching Melisa's description had been found. Her relatives rushed to the scene, a remote wooded area along a dirt road, where a group of firewood collectors had made the grim discovery. Municipal firefighters were already there recovering the body. Though they tried to shield it from view, 𝐬𝐻𝐵𝐿A recognized her daughter from the shoes and part of her dress peeking out from the cover. Overcome with grief, she clung to Melisa's lifeless body in anguish. A forensic autopsy performed the next day confirmed that Melisa had died from blunt force trauma to the head. Her face was so disfigured that identification was difficult. Fortunately, authorities found no signs of sexual assault. Prosecutors from the Specialized Femicide Unit took over the case. They examined Melisa's digital communications from the day she disappeared and discovered a voice note she had sent around 1 p.m. In the recording, Melisa told a friend to inform Maritza that she would be late. She mentioned she was with another friend and that they had gotten a flat tire. Her exact words suggested confusion and urgency. The message was likely sent just before she was fatally attacked. Melisa was laid to rest on Wednesday, July the 7th. Dozens of mourners accompanied her coffin to the cemetery, all dressed in white, carrying white flowers and balloons. Their grief was deep, but their message was clear. They wanted justice. A major breakthrough came when security camera footage showed that Melisa had been picked up that Sunday afternoon by an old acquaintance, Maria Fernanda Bonilla, 20, and her bodyguard 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐫𝐞, 27. Maria Fernanda, a young aviation pilot, had once studied with Melisa. She is the daughter of businesswoman and former mayoral candidate. A year prior, Maria Fernanda had gained public recognition after using her helicopter to assist during a natural disaster, earning her a reputation as a hero. Rumors circulated that there may have been more than just friendship between the two young women, though neither family nor officials confirmed this. One theory was that Maria Fernanda showered Melisa with attention that wasn't reciprocated. What investigators did confirm was that the last call made from Melisa's phone on the day she disappeared was to Maria Fernanda, and it was Maria Fernanda, alongside her bodyguard Jose Luis, who had come to pick her up that tragic Sunday. Security footage helped investigators piece together the movements of the suspects, revealing that Melisa had been taken to a different municipality. For over 3 hours, they drove around the region before stopping in a wooded area, where her body was later discovered. According to the prosecution, during that time, Melisa was beaten to death. She tried to fight off her attackers, but they used a rock to end her life and left her behind in the remote forest. In the days following her disappearance, Melisa's family recalled that Maria Fernanda reached out to them. She asked if they had any news of Melisa and even offered to use a helicopter to help with the search. Her offer, in hindsight, seemed disturbingly insincere. Nearly a week after Melisa's body was found, on the morning of Thursday, August 25th, law enforcement officers carried out arrest warrants for Maria Fernanda Bonilla and Jose Luis. During the operation, reporters confronted Maria Fernanda. She confirmed that Melisa had been her classmate, but gave little else. When asked why she hadn't been home on Friday the 20th, the day authorities tried to detain her, she vaguely explained that she was a pilot and often traveled to different places. She refused to say more, claiming she would only speak in court and that she had many things to clarify, hinting that others might be involved as well. At a hearing on September 9th, the public ministry confirmed that both Maria Fernanda and Jose Luis were officially charged. The court granted the prosecution 3 months to complete its investigation into the femicide. Based on the evidence presented, the two were remanded to pretrial detention as the primary suspects in Melisa's murder. Though they surrendered their phones at the time of their arrest, forensic analysts discovered that most data had been wiped. Still, experts managed to recover fragments of messages exchanged between the two around midnight on July 3rd and the early hours of July 4th. The conversation suggested they were planning to take Melisa to a secluded location and kill her by beating. By December 7th of that year, the case had drawn significant attention in local and national media. On that day, the judge overseeing the case made a controversial decision. He downgraded the charge from murder to homicide committed in a state of violent emotion for Maria Fernanda and accessory after the fact for Jose Luis. Under Guatemalan law, murder could have carried a sentence of up to 20 years. But the lesser charge of homicide in a state of emotional distress is punishable by only 5 to 8 years, a far lighter consequence than the one sought by prosecutors. The judge also excluded key evidence, such as the suspect's chat messages, from the court record. The ruling triggered outrage. Outside the courthouse, Melisa's friends and family erupted in protest. A confrontation broke out that required police intervention. In the chaos, Melisa's mother and other demonstrators who had chained themselves in protest were hit by a police patrol vehicle. Fortunately, they sustained only minor injuries. The judge's decision and the incident during the protests sparked widespread public anger. Melisa's family began calling for the case to be reassigned to another court, alleging corruption and possible bribery behind the judge's ruling. On their Justice for Melisa page, her loved ones openly questioned the judge's impartiality and labeled the entire process corrupt. They pointed out that the judge refused to step down despite an ongoing investigation into his alleged misconduct. Amid growing media pressure and public outcry, the judge stepped down on January 13, 2022, stating that his reputation had been unfairly tarnished by the victim's family and the public criticism in the media. A new judge was assigned. But just as the case was gaining momentum again, another controversy arose. On January 25th, Maria Fernanda reportedly streamed live from inside the Zacapa prison using a popular social media platform. The live stream attracted 45 viewers, and during the session, she made sarcastic comments about Melisa's grieving relatives who had protested the reduction of charges. She even joked that everything was already arranged and claimed she was innocent, suggesting that the victim's family needed to accept reality. Following the broadcast, Melisa's relatives filed complaints, claiming that Maria Fernanda was receiving special treatment behind bars. They accused her of having access to cell phones, a personal vehicle, possibly provided by her mother, and even household staff to cook and clean for her. By the end of January, the new judge also excused herself from the case, citing doubts about her impartiality raised by both the victim's family and the defendant's legal team. The hearing scheduled for that date was canceled. On February 2nd, the Supreme Court of Guatemala intervened. It accepted a request to lift the immunity of the original judge, who had controversially changed the charges in the first place. A few months later, on April 2nd, the newly appointed judge denied Annabella's request to reclassify the charges back to murder for those accused of taking her daughter's life. In a statement released on April 8th, Melisa's family accused the judge of violating his oath to uphold the Constitution by refusing to consider her mother's formal request to reclassify the charges in the case. For several months afterward, there were no significant developments, until August, when the public ministry attempted to press new charges against Maria Fernanda for allegedly using an unauthorized electronic device while in prison. However, the hearing was abruptly postponed after she failed to appear, citing health concerns. Time continued to pass without justice. By July 5, 2023, 2 years since Melisa's murder, her family was still waiting for answers. Instead of progress, they saw the defense team of Maria Fernanda repeatedly succeed in securing favorable rulings from Guatemala's constitutional court. While the rights of the alleged killer were fully recognized, Melisa's family felt that theirs, and those of the victim, were entirely overlooked. Even more controversial was a ruling by that same court on September 8th, when the original judge in the case was granted an injunction that nullified the decision to remove his judicial immunity. In response, Melisa's family, through their legal team at the Victims Institute, appealed the ruling and asked the Supreme Court to revisit the matter. On September 23rd, the country's highest court unanimously reinstated the decision to strip the judge of his immunity. But from that point forward, and throughout 2024, the legal process stalled again, bogged down by a flurry of legal maneuvers filed by the defense team. Amid the many obstacles standing in the way of justice, Melisa's loved ones and former classmates organized protests determined not to let the case be forgotten. The public ministry eventually requested that the case be transferred to a high-risk court in the capital due to alleged threats and concerns over impartiality. However, in January 2025, the Supreme Court's criminal chamber rejected that request. Meanwhile, the defense attorneys filed a petition to accept reduced charges, which had already been downgraded to lesser offenses, in order to bring the trial to a close and reduce sentencing. If granted, this would allow the accused to walk free in a matter of days. Then, on March 12, 2025, public attention returned to the case. That day was scheduled for the pivotal pre-trial hearing for Maria Fernanda and José Luis. Prosecutors were under pressure to present compelling evidence to counter the earlier, allegedly biased decisions by the first judge. Without it, the case risked tipping in favor of the defendants. But the hearing was suspended after lawyers from the Victims Institute, representing Melisa's family, filed a motion to recuse the presiding judge. According to the attorneys, the defendant's legal team had already withdrawn their earlier plea deal, meaning the judge should have stayed on the case rather than stepping aside. This sparked a procedural conflict. The motion, aimed at removing the judge over perceived bias, must now be resolved before the hearing can be rescheduled. That hearing will determine not only whether the case goes to trial, but under what charges. The judge accepted the motion in part, but without suspending the process entirely, so another judge from the same court could still move the case forward and consider the defense's petition for early release. Meanwhile, the Victims Institute requested that the case be elevated to the appellate court, asking that higher judicial authorities decide who should continue overseeing the matter. Around this time, several incidents fueled public outrage. Among them was the heavy security escort surrounding Maria Fernanda as she arrived at court, flanked by private bodyguards and wearing a bulletproof vest. Protesters outside the courthouse, many of whom were Melisa's relatives or justice advocates, later reported being harassed and threatened by armed civilians who had accompanied the accused. Maria Fernanda's statements following the postponed hearing only added to the controversy. Widely covered by the press and shared across social media, her remarks were met with sharp criticism. Many online users accused her of arrogance and disrespect, calling for a tough sentence should she be found guilty. Shortly after, the public ministry confirmed that new evidence had emerged, an audio clip believed to have been recorded just moments before the crime. Extracted from a video leaked on social media, the clip features a tense confrontation between Maria Fernanda and Melisa. Melisa can be heard crying out, begging to be left alone, while the voice alleged to be Maria Fernanda's accuses her of betrayal and demands the password to her phone. The audio ends with a chilling silence. Melisa's voice goes quiet, replaced by what appear to be the sounds of violence. As of March 2025, the case remained unresolved. Despite judge replacements, suppressed evidence, and mounting allegations of preferential treatment toward the accused, Melisa's family has vowed to keep fighting. They demand the truth behind her murder and full accountability for those responsible. Now that you've heard Melisa's story and everything her loved ones have endured in pursuit of justice, what do you think? Will her killers ever be truly held accountable? Or will corruption, influence, and a flawed legal system win again? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching Latin Crimes, where we uncover the most shocking and untold crime stories from across Latin America. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on our latest investigations. Together, we seek truth and justice in every story. See you next time.